That's why the lady is a tramp.
Running around in circles.
Spin wheel, spin and true.
C'è la luna, mezza mare, mamma mia, maradare.
Time now for spinning my dad's vinyl. Here with all his skips, scratches, and pops for the 200th time is my dad, Frank Vaccarello.
Thanks, sweetie. And thank you for tuning into episode 200 of Spinning My Dad's Vinyl. Well, here's a milestone for you. I can't believe that I have reached 200 episodes with no intent of stopping, by the way. While I've played over 1,200 songs on this show over those more than 3 3/4 years, I have several that have stuck in my brain or keep coming up in conversation or memories. They may not be the most popular of the songs I've played, the biggest hits, or even necessarily among my personal favorites, but they had a catchy melody or rhythm that I just couldn't get out of my head. So, get ready to hear a dozen extra memorable tunes you've heard on this show before in Volume 200, Frank's Earworms Take 2.
That's why the lady. That's why the lady. That's why the lady is a tramp. Tramp. Ooh. She gets too hungry for a dinner at 8 now. Hates the theater but never comes late. She never bothers with the people she hates. That's why the lady is a tramp. Don't go to crap games with the barons and earls. Won't go to Harlem and Irmas and Pearls. She won't dish the dirt with the rest of the girls. That's why the lady is a tramp. She loves the free, fresh wind in her hair, a life without care. She's broke, and that's so. Hates California, it's so smoggy and damp. That's why the lady is a tramp now. She gets massages, she cries and she moans. Tell Slenderella just to leave her alone. She's not so hot, but her shape is her own. That's why the lady is a tramp. The food at Sardi's is great, no doubt, but she doesn't know what motels are about. She puts in a dime and some ice comes out. That's why the lady is a tramp. She loves the free, a fresh wind in her face, diamonds and lace. No got, so what? For Rod Steiger, she whistles and stamps. That's why the lady is a tramp now. She don't know the reason for cocktails at 5. She don't like flying, but I'm glad I'm alive. I crave affection, baby, but not when I drive. That's why the lady is a tramp now. She flew down to London and left me behind. I missed the crowning, but I didn't mind. She won't play Scarlet and Gone with the Wind. It's got a rhyme. That's why the lady is a tramp now. I'd like to hang her hat wherever I please and fly with a breeze. I know dough, hi-ho, she thinks that Marciano is still a great big champ. That's why the lady is a tramp now. She goes down to Coney and she thinks the beach is divine. She goes to the ball games and thinks the Yankees are fine. Why, she reads Walter Winchell and understands every line. That's why the lady is a tramp now. She likes to go rowing down a Central Park Lake. She digs a prize fight that isn't a fake. Why, she even goes to the opera and stays wide awake. That's why the lady is a tramp now. I like the green grass tight shoes. Now what can I lose? She's flat, and that's that. She's all alone when I lower my lamp. That's why the lady, that's why the lady, that's why the lady is a tramp.
Spinning my dad's vinyl. and that has become my favorite version of that song, the Duke Ellington Orchestra with Take the A-Train, written by Duke Ellington. That was from an album of various artists called Theme Songs of the Big Band Era, which was just recently featured in volume 198, Big Band Themes. However, this song was pulled out early and played in volume 144, Where Jazz is Buried, Woodlawn, on October 1st, 2023, and that happens to be among my very favorite of all of my episodes. And before that, we heard The Lady is a Tramp, sung by Buddy Greco at a torrid pace, written by Richard Rodgers and Lorenz Hart. That version was recorded at La Bistro on Rush Street in Chicago sometime in 1959. It was taken from the Various Artist album called Swingin' Sound, and it was heard on volume 154, Swingin' Sounds, and you've been able to hear that since December 10th, 2023. Okay, why these songs for this special milestone show? Well, this episode is really about the music and what stays in my head long after an episode has been scheduled. I do listen to these shows a lot. While I grew up in the classic rock era, my first job in radio had me playing a ton of what is in my dad's collection. I also listen to critique what I've been doing and try to make the show better. Hopefully, you've noticed improvements over the years. I did a show like this when I hit 100 episodes on November 27th, 2022. Yes, some of those songs are still stuck in my head too, but you won't be hearing any of those being repeated here. Also, technically, this is the 201st episode. There is an unnumbered episode commemorating the 60th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which dropped November 22nd, 2023. So, I hope you like the nice, eclectic mix of music on this episode. It matches my dad's collection so well. Maybe one or two of them will become earworms for you. And we know this one is one of the top earworms of all time.
Dale, Dale, daylight come and me want go home. Dale, me said 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 Dale. Daylight come and me want go home. Work all night and a drink a rum.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Stack banana till the morning come.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Live
6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home.
day, is a day, oh.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Day, is a day, is a day, is a day,
Daylight
is a
come
day.
and we want go home.
A beautiful bunch, a ripe banana.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Hide the deadly black tarantula.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Live
6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home.
day, is a day, oh.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Day, is a day, is a day, is a day,
Daylight
is a
come
day.
and we want go home.
Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana.
Daylight come and we want go home.
Day-o, day-o,
Daylight come and me one go.
Spinning My Dad's Vinyl. Hart with Java, written by Alan Toussaint, Alvin Tile, and Freddie Friday. That's from the album The Best of Al Hart, and it was featured in volume 158, Hurt So Good, published January 7th, 2024. Before that, we heard Deo from Harry Belafonte, written by Harry Belafonte, Lord Burgess, and Bill Attaway. It's from the Harry Belafonte album Calypso, which was featured in volume 109, Harry's Deo, on January 29th, 2023. Now, let me give you some quick show stats. Before this episode, I played 1,261 songs and 88 non-musical tracks. I have 545 YouTube subscribers. I have at least 50 episodes that are blocked on YouTube because of copyright infringement, and even those go back and forth from getting blocked to being cleared for public viewing. I'll give you an example in a moment. Total views on YouTube, just over 50,000. Impressive? Not really. Again, just a hobby. Most of those are concentrated in the top 10, but I'll just tell you the top 5 with an honorable mention. Volume 122, Glenn Miller Collection Part 4 on April 30th, 2023, came in 5th with a little over 1,800 views. Next was Special Extra Volume, 60 Years Since JFK's Assassination, on November 22nd, 2023, with just under 4,000 views. The first of the most popular orchestra leader by far is Volume 141, Conniff Memories, from September 10th, 2023, checking in with just under 5,000 views. The Harry James episode, Volume 106, Harry's Favorites, which dropped January 8th, 2023, sits at second with a little over 6,300 views. And the number one viewed episode by far also featured Ray Conniff, Volume 76, My Song, on June 12, 2022. It was viewed more than 11,100 times. And now the honorable mention is yet another Conniff episode, which just dropped last month, September 15th. I said in the episode I wasn't sure if it was going to be blocked like one other Conniff episode was. Well, Volume 194, Ray's Honey, got 850 views. Then it was blocked, then it was released again, and it's already the 7th most viewed episode on my YouTube channel. I have no idea what it is with these Ray Conniff episodes. I'm loving it. The audio-only version has been downloaded just under 7,700 times from my main platform, Podbean, and other places like Apple Podcasts and iHeart and the iHeart app. Okay, back to music. Starting with one I will usually just instinctively start tapping to on my bongos along that back wall. Spinning my dad's vinyl.
Like the girl whose name was Carrie, she carried her charms to everybody else. Her I had to marry, or die, die, die. Had to marry Carrie, or die, die, die.
Debbie Reynolds and the cast of the musical motion picture The Unsinkable Molly Brown with Belly Up to the Bar, Boys, and that was written by Meredith Wilson. It was from the MGM soundtrack album, which was featured in volume 172, Molly is Unsinkable. That episode dropped April 14th, 2024, 112 years after the Titanic struck that famous iceberg in the North Atlantic. While that song comes up every once in a while in my brain, it was actually mentioned in a Facebook conversation with a friend of mine who was just in Leadville, Colorado earlier this month. That's the town Molly Brown worked in. My friend Irene ended up drinking at the Silver Dollar Saloon, and I asked her if she had sung a rousing chorus of Belly Up to the Bar, Boys. She said she hadn't had enough to drink yet. I'm not sure I would ever have enough to drink yet either. Before that, we heard Let's Cha-Cha from Tito Puente, written by Ray Cohen. It's from the album Let's Cha-Cha with Tito Puente and his orchestra. That record is featured on volume 138, Cha-Cha with Tito, from August 20th, 2023. Now, this is where I usually stop to talk about the featured artist, but since there isn't one featured one, I thought I'd tell you why I think I'm semi-qualified to bring you a show like this. Yes, it's a hobby, but it's a hobby based on experience and a past profession. I think of it as someone who worked in the analog world, now going digital. I'm basically a former radio DJ trying his hand at a podcast. Although I'm currently working in marketing for a large manufacturer, I spent 16 years in radio broadcasting. Some of that as a news and sports reporter, but mostly as a disc jockey. My first 2 years in radio were spent learning from giants in the business at the nation's #1 nostalgia station, WBBG in Cleveland, the Big Band Grandstand, and much more. That station is now long off the air. From 1982 to 1984, I worked with and for my father's favorite 1950s DJ, Bill Randall, who helped put Elvis Presley on the musical map north of the Mason-Dixon line. My dad was so excited when I told him I would be the intern writing his newscasts. Even after I took a full-time position at the station, I relished the opportunities to have conversations with Bill about the radio business, and he once told me a great Elvis story as I drove him to the bus station for one of his weekend trips. I also can't forget the influences of other on-air legends like Carl Reese and Ted Alexander. Ted himself used to have his own internet show of oldies. He is now retired. In fact, I took him out to lunch a little over a year ago, and it was a pleasant afternoon of old war stories from his more than 40 years in radio. And you can hear the entire phone conversation unedited at the link in this episode's liner notes. So why am I doing this show? Well, this collection isn't made up of just a bunch of albums I found in my dad's house after he died. I listened to these albums, mostly at Sunday dinners, which we ate at 3 o'clock, the time these episodes drop each week. But I wore a few of these out on my own turntable. So I know this collection, and I think regular listeners have been enjoying some of the unique selections here. My dad and I had very similar taste in a lot of music. I also have over 400 vinyl albums in my personal collection, and even after his death, I found some of my albums in his collection, and vice versa. I consider myself a bit of an amateur music historian, emphasis on amateur. I've always loved music that came from before I was born, though I'm still partial to Led Zeppelin. Additionally, extra understanding and appreciation of much of what you hear from my dad's collection came from a great upper-level division class I had in college, The History of Jazz, and I've quoted from it very often. Okay, next up is a tune that is our entry from the 78 RPM shellac stack in my dad's collection. It has since become my girlfriend's and my theme song. You see, we can never seem to go in a straight line anywhere.
A greyhound who had lots of speed was surely bound to fail. For morning, noon, and evening he'd be chasing his own tail. He was running around in circles, running around in circles, getting nowhere. A squirrel in a treadmill cage, round and round he'd go. You'd think that he'd be in a race, but seems he didn't know. He was running around in circles, running around in circles, getting nowhere. The man who runs a carousel is often heavy-hearted. He rides all day, but sad to say, he winds up where he started. So concentrate and clear your mind of schemes that never last, or you'll wake up someday and find your chances all have passed. You've been running around in circles, running around in circles, getting nowhere, getting nowhere very fast. Concentrate and clear your mind of schemes that never last, or you'll wake up someday and find your chances all have passed. You've been running around in circles, running around in circles, getting nowhere, getting nowhere very fast.
Spinning My Dad's Vinyl. Sergio Mendes and Brazil 66 with Yamale, written by Chico Feitosa and Luis Carlos Vinhas. It was taken from the album Yamale, featured in Volume 34, Brazil 66, Yamale, on August 22nd, 2021. Pretty original on the naming of that episode, I guess, huh? I also got a kick out of seeing the lead singer of that group, Lonnie Hall, last year in Cleveland. She's been touring for several years with her now 89-year-old husband, Herb Alpert. Brazil 66 comes up quite often as suggested videos on my YouTube. There are some quite remarkable performances recorded of this group. Check out their performance from the Tom Jones Show if you get a chance. Before that, we heard a song I sing to myself way more often than I care to admit. Running Around in Circles, Getting Nowhere, from Bing Crosby with John Scott Trotter and his orchestra. It was written by Irving Berlin for the movie Blue Skies, and that's the 78 RPM album this song came from. It can be found in Volume 78, Berlin's Blue Skies, that dropped June 26, 2022. Time now for this episode's interesting side note, and it has to do with an interesting backstage story from me. Now, I have several, what I think are cool stories to tell. From being an extra on the TV show Cheers for one episode, to being a radio sports reporter who was in the Cleveland Browns locker room after The Drive, which came during the 1987 NFL AFC Championship game. Look that one up if you're not familiar with it. However, the most interesting story I can tell that has to do with music came from my time at the Rock of Erie, Rocket 101. As the afternoon drive DJ, I got to do quite a few cool interviews, sometimes on the phone, sometimes in the studio. Well, I got to interview the lead singer of REO Speedwagon, Kevin Cronin, on the phone about a week before they were to appear at Gannon University's Hammermill Center on March 21st, 1991. I got to introduce them on stage, and then afterwards, a little bit of a backstage party where I introduced Kevin to one of his biggest fans, a friend of mine by the name of Ed Faulkner. Now, Ed, back in the time, this is way before the internet, he knew a lot about REO Speedwagon. He had already seen them 30 times in concert. He owned a couple of their gold records, platinum records, you know, the ones that they put on the walls, and he had several bootleg tapes of some of their concerts. And he was very plugged in. And Kevin, Ed, and I were backstage sucking down a couple of Budweisers when Ed said to Kevin, "Hey, I understand you're putting out a second best of CD." Kevin said, "Yes, not a lot of people know that." Ed said, "I also understand that you are going to feature a few live cuts this time through rather than just studio cuts." Kevin, now a little bit more impressed, said, "You are correct." Ed then said, "Well, you know, I've got this bootleg tape of a concert that you did in Honolulu in 1989, where you did a reggae version of Keep On Loving You." And that was their monster hit from their 1980 album, High Infidelity. Kevin said, "You are correct. We're going to do that." He handed Ed his business card, said, "You call this number on Monday, tell them about this conversation we just had." And sure enough, when Second Decade of Hits was released on CD in late 1991, this is the version of Keep On Loving You that was on it. And I think I just had a little bit to do with that decision. Now, I have that full story written out in more detail on my personal blog site, and I'll drop that link into this episode's liner notes. And there were two other interviews that stood out from my time at Rocket. Both of them were over the phone, unfortunately. I didn't get to meet them in person when they were in town, but it was Rob Halford, the lead singer of Judas Priest, and comedian George Carlin. That was a great interview. Okay, next up is one of my favorite jazz tunes, but this one is given the old Mancini treatment, which makes it somehow just a little more memorable than when Goodman does it. Spinning My Dad's Vinyl.
What goes up must come down. Spinning wheel, got to go round. Talk about the trouble, it's crying sin. Ride a painted pony, let your spinning wheel spin. You got no money, and you got no home. Spinning wheel, all alone. Talk about your trouble, you'll never learn. Ride a painted pony, let the spinning wheel turn. Did you find a directing sign on the straight and narrow highway? Would you mind a reflecting sign? Just let it shine within your mind and show you the color that is real. Someone is waiting just for you. Spinning wheel, spinning true. Drop all your trouble by the riverside. Ride a painted pony and let your spinning wheel fly. Ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Just for you. Spinning wheel, keep on spinning true. Drop all your trouble by the riverside. Ride a painted pony and let your spinning wheel fly. Grab a painted pony and let the spinning wheel fly. Let the spinning wheel fly. Your spinning wheel do its own thing and fly. Thank you, Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
From the guy I consider the greatest showman of all time, Sammy Davis Jr., with a wild version of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Spinning Wheel, written by David Clayton Thomas of that group. That was from the Sammy Davis Jr. album, Sammy. It is one of my favorite records in my dad's collection. It was featured in volume 177, Sammy, Record 2, from May 19th, 2024, an episode I've already listened to a handful of times. Before that, we heard Sing, Sing, Sing from Henry Mancini. He kind of turned that inside out. What a great version of that song. Composed by Louis Prima, who you will be hearing from again shortly. It came from the album Henry Mancini, The Blues and the Beat. You can hear that in Volume 72, Blues and the Beat, from May 15th, 2022. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. And I hope you've been enjoying this show as much as I enjoy bringing it to you every week. This episode featured just a small percentage of the great music my dad has in his eclectic and extensive record collection. Now, there is one song I did not play, but I still listen to it and the episodes it is featured on, and that's Rhapsody in Blue, one of my favorite pieces, but it is 14 minutes long. The original orchestra who performed it recorded it many years after that initial performance, and you can hear that in volume 163, 100 Years of Rhapsody, which was published February 11th, 2024, one day short of exactly 100 years after the Paul Whiteman Orchestra premiered it in New York City, with Gershwin at the piano, by the way. And you can hear the recording of a player piano roll produced with Gershwin himself at the piano. That's in Volume 3, Original Performance, Rhapsody in Blue, from January 17th, 2021. Also, please make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel or the audio platforms I mentioned, and you can also find the show on Facebook and Instagram. Of course, all this information is in one place on the website at spinningmydadsvinyl.com. Like I've said in the past, this is just a hobby, but it's a hobby I have somehow kept going for 200 consecutive Sundays, through my daughter's high school graduation earlier this year and all that entails, to her starting college this fall, camping trips, an 11-day road trip out west 3 years ago, being in San Diego just this last week for a marketing industry conference. I've somehow carved out the time I need to record this show, and I'm glad I did. Okay, I'll stop patting myself on the back now. I think I just strained something. But what this show really does is help me stay connected to my dad, and of course, my mom. Two people I miss terribly. So, cheers to the two of them for having the foresight to hang on to all these treasured recordings. Okay, I'm going to finish up with two of the most played artists in my childhood home. And I'll drink to that.
C'è la luna, mezza mare, mamma mia, mi maradare. Figli mia, cutterare, mamma mia, pensaccia tu. Sitte d'ogni pisciaolo, ite va, ite viene sempre baccalare del mano bene. Se ci picchia fantasia, baccalare, figli mia. Oh mamma, la 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 la. Oh mamma, la 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 la. Mama dear, come over here and see who's looking in my window. It's the baker boy, and look, he's got a cannoli in his hand. If you marry the baker boy, he will come and he will go, and he will always mix the flour in the pan. If you marry the baker boy, he'll have the cannoli in his hand. Oh mama, la 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 la. Oh mama, la 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 la. Mama dear, come over here and see who's looking in the window. got the instrument in his hand. If you married a musician, he will come and he will go, and he will always be playing in the band. If you married a musician, he'll have the trumpet in his hand. Oh, mama, la 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 la. Oh, mama, la 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 la. C'è la luna nel mare, mamma mia, mare daddy. Figli mia cucciolare, mamma mia, pansaccia tu. Oh, mamma, la 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 la. Oh, mamma, la 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 la.
Spinning My Dad's Vinyl. Who's more appropriate to end this episode than Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass with A Taste of Honey, written by Bobby Scott and Rick Marlowe from the album Whipped Cream and Other Delights, featured on Volume 98, Whipped Alpert, on November 13th, 2022. And just recently, I featured the Brass's Greatest Hits album in Volume 186, Best of TJB, Happy Birthday to Me, on July 21st, 2024. Yes, I have played this song in 2 episodes. That's how much I like it. Before that, we heard Già la Luna from Louis Prima with Sam Butera and the Witnesses, written by Kopak and Louis Prima. It was found on the album of various artists, Love Italian Style. My girlfriend and I featured that in Volume 111, Love Italian Style Part 2 on February 12th, 2023. It was our annual Valentine's special. And there you have selections of music from the past 199 episodes that I just couldn't get out of my head. And maybe now you can't either. So thanks for tuning into Volume 200, Frank's Earworms Take 2, however you did. If you want more information about this show, head over to spinningmydadsvinyl.com. I'll be back next week with all my skips, scratches, and pops to start a travel-related month in Volume 201, 80 Days with Passepartout. Until then, go with the flow, my friends.